Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
All right, guys, welcome back. If you are here for the Kohberger update briefly there, we are here for a moment that we didn't know was happening until just recently. And I don't even think Nate knew it was happening until just recently. I think Lori surprised us all, trying to keep us on our toes. You guys, let's go.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Courtroom Insider. It is the last day of June 2025. I'm Nate Eaton. Thanks so much for being here. We kind of have a big show tonight. Not sure if you've heard, not sure what we'll talk about. Actually, we have a lot to talk about. Normally, if we didn't have a big interview coming up with Lori Vallow Daybell, we would talk about the big news that broke just this afternoon that Bryan Kohberger has accepted a plea agreement. He will no longer be going to trial, a trial that was set to begin in just a few weeks. In exchange for pleading guilty, the death penalty has been taken off the table. He will serve life in prison without any possibility of appealing that plea agreement. So the victims' families received notice today. We're going to talk more about that on Wednesday when this hearing is going to be held in Boise. We won't spend really any time on that tonight, but wanted to keep you updated on that breaking news. Also, the horrifying news in northern Idaho yesterday with the firefighters who were ambushed and killed while responding to a fire. It has been a very, very busy few days for news here in eastern Idaho. But I want to thank you for spending your time here with me tonight. And I want to know where you're watching from. And if you have any questions, you probably will have some questions by the time tonight is done. By the time the program is here, we have set up an email address, questions@eastidahonews.com. Send in your thoughts, ask questions as you're watching this interview.
So we don't need this part. We can skip past this and get to the good parts.
By the way, if I didn't say it, tonight, Lori Vallow Daybell is here on Courtroom Insider. I actually started communicating with Lori back in 2020. I reached out to her on the tablet when she was in the Madison County Jail in Rexburg. Inmates communicate via tablet. And I even sent her a letter in the mail, and she never wrote me back. In fact, the money that I put on her account to respond to me, she used, but I don't know who she used it on. Actually, Lord. I probably do know. Her husband, Chad Daybell. And that happened back in 2020. I continued to go ahead and make contact with her, try to make contact with her, to the point that I sent a letter through her attorneys on the day she was found guilty in Idaho, and nothing. Well, after she was transferred to the prison in Pocatello, I remember one morning I was on a walk and I said, I'm just going to reach out to her again and see. So I set up an account. I sent a message. I said, I'd love to talk with you on or off the record. Let me know. And I sent the message and didn't think anything of it. That was like on a Tuesday or Wednesday. I then, that weekend, my son and I were going away for a boys' weekend away. And I told my wife before we left, I'm like, finally, for the first time in years, I can go away and I don't have to think about Lori Daybell. Because every time I'd go out of town, something would break in the case. My son and I left town, had a good Friday night at the arcade playing, go back to the hotel, go to sleep. I wake up in the morning. I look at my phone and it says, you have a message from Lori Vallow. And I'm like, what? And it wouldn't open on my phone. And so I had to grab my computer and open it up. And Lori said, hi, something to the effect of, hi, Nate, I would be willing to talk with you as a friend off the record. I'm telling all you this now because she has told me I can share certain details. Many of you, that off the record is something that...
Flash, are you saying that I'm frozen? Also, I should just say, huge shout, it goes out saying, right? Huge shout out to Nate Eaton. I'll also put a link in the description for the original interview as well. But, if anyone, this is just, this feels right that if anyone's going to get to interview her, it should be him. So yeah, just want to say.
Reporters use to maybe get a source to open up a little bit more. It's information that we promise not to divulge to the public if it's off the record. If it's on the record, we we can divulge it all. And often reporters will go off the record to try to build a relationship with someone, like I did with Lori, to try to get more information maybe, or to try to use that information to go investigate or get something like that. And so Lori and I proceeded to talk. She said, I want to talk to you as a friend. We had never met.
As a friend, you guys, she wants to talk to him as a friend.
But we were frequently messaging, and it was, to be honest, the messaging back and forth was pretty bizarre. It was like we were old friends, and we talked about her recipes, her buttercream frosting that she makes on cupcakes, and it was just a little unusual. She asked me to come and see her at the prison. No cameras, no phone, just to go meet with her because she needed me to do something for her.
Of course she did. She needed him to do something for her.
And so I made the request. She wouldn't tell me what it is. I made the request to the jail and to the prison. And you have to fill out a form, and they have to approve visits. And in the slot where it said, tell us how you know the inmate, the resident, I said, we met in Hawaii because we did. And my request was denied. And Lori wasn't happy about that. She went to the warden and told the warden, Nate Eaton needs to come and see me. And the warden said no. Lori and I continued to communicate. She was then moved to Arizona, and our communication became less and less frequent. I would reach out to her. She would see me in court. And that's just kind of where things went. Well, then a week ago Friday, I have an app on my phone that I use to communicate, not just with her, but with other inmates. It's kind of weird, I guess, but it's my job. I get a message from her out of the blue. Oh man, you all are sending in questions like crazy. By the way, Peggy Jepson, our comment moderator, Peggy's here. Everybody say hi to Peggy.
Hi, Peggy.
She does a great job reading your questions and sending in your comments. So far, 37 of you have sent questions. I hope we can get through these all. Let me tell you what Lori sent me a week ago Friday. Caught me off guard. She said, okay, so if we, mind you, we had not communicated in like 6 or 7 months.
Wow.
And she said, okay, so if we do an interview, will you play the whole thing unedited? How will that work? And will you bring me M&Ms? We had talked about
M&Ms is hilarious though, isn't it?
M&Ms in our first conversation when we were kind of
unbelievable
getting to know each other. Like, what's your favorite candy?
I mean, if you're going to make a request for some type of food, she could have asked for anything. And of all the things, just M&Ms.
And things like that. And she said M&Ms. I believe she said peanut M&Ms. So I
mean, surprisingly reasonable, right? She could have asked for like, you name it. Just the M&Ms, though.
Wrote back, shocked. Okay, yes, we'll air the whole thing unedited, which I would have done anyway. And let me give you the caveat. I am going to air the whole thing unedited tonight, but I am going to fact check after the interview. I have a list of claims Lori made right here.
Oh, boy.
And I'm going to fact check for you. I went on to talk about how I could come in person, how we could do the interview on Zoom, whatever, or through the tablet, whatever she wanted. She wrote back, after being sick for so long, I could really use M&Ms.
Oh, right. Because remember, she was on death's door, quote unquote.
And then we talked about scheduling. And then she said, let me know what times work best for you. And we just kind of went back and forth. She wrote me. Then let me tell you how this works. I reached out to the PIO, the sheriff's office. Lori gets so many messages. She tells me she gets so many messages from people all over asking for interviews.
Oh boy.
Lori actually has to tell the jail, I want to interview with so-and-so. She has to give them her request. It's not like anyone can set it up with her. She has to request, because I asked the jail and they said, no, she needs to request it. And she hasn't requested you. So I told her, you need to go in, you need to request me. So she did. And then she said, I will request with my sergeant an interview on Thursday at 11 for 1 hour and an interview on Friday at 11 for an hour. She wanted 2 hours. I would like to cover living with autism, living with,
Oh, this is great. This is where she's going to set all of the terms as if it's her show, right?
I would like to cover living with autism, living with chronic illness, pancreatitis, cruelty
Wow.
of the family court system,
Wow.
women facing the death penalty, unfairness of the judicial system,
Wow.
strengthening women through family tragedy.
Incredible.
Let me know if you are still interested.
He's just so polite because, I mean, my reaction to this is like, I don't even know how to react. I guess it's really what I would expect from her, but still it's like, ugh. You guys can see where she's going with that list, right?
Well, of course I was still interested, but this is my interview with her, not her
Right.
interview with me.
You
And I
telling me?
thought for sure we can touch on some of these topics, but as you'll see tonight, we did not touch on really any of them, or very few.
Good job, Nate.
So Monday comes around, nothing, no word. Tuesday, I get an email from the jail saying, your interview with Lori Vallow Daybell will happen Thursday at 10 a.m. You have 30 minutes. You have 30 minutes to set up and 30 minutes for the interview.
Wow.
We immediately started to book flights, arrange travel, and we were on a plane the next night, Wednesday night. We went over to the jail on Thursday morning. We did set up, and in walked Lori.
Oh,
Now,
boy.
in the room with Lori, with me, Lori, our cameraman, Jordan, our photographer, Jordan, the amazing, extraordinary Jordan, who fixes everything, a producer who I'll tell you about after the interview, Lori's private investigator, Jeff White, was there, her paralegal, Anna, was there, and then the PIO for the sheriff's office, along with 2 deputies from the jail. They were all in the room, and nothing was off limits. There were no topics off limits. The challenge as an interviewer with someone like Lori is
Oh, yeah.
maintaining control of the situation,
Uh-huh.
asking questions, and not dwelling too long on one topic, because she will. And you'll see tonight that
And you have to get, and the other thing I will say too, and I mean, he does a great job of this. You have to give her a little bit of what she wants, right? You can't just shut her down at every turn or she's just going to end it. You know what I mean?
to bounce around to topics. Otherwise, she would have sucked up the whole time. And that's what I did. I bounced around from this topic over here. Also, you want to be courteous. You want to be professional. I know many of you have said, why didn't you punch her in the eye? Why didn't you punch her in the face? Why would you bring her M&Ms? Which I did. And you'll see what happened with the M&Ms at the end of the interview.
So I don't know what happens with the M&Ms yet, because this happened while we were still live from Brian Koberger. But how much my guess on this, if I had to guess, is like either like my guess would be that she takes all the M&Ms and like throws them in his face or something. We'll see.
Also, another element to all of this is that we were doing the interview on Lori's birthday. I did not know it was her birthday until the night before. So you will see I did wish her a happy birthday in the beginning to try to disarm her. And you know, different people have different interviewing tactics. I know many of you are going to, after this interview, are going to write me and say, you are a pathetic interviewer. You were too soft on her. You let her get away with this. I've heard it. Believe me, my neighbor came over a few days ago and said, why would you interview her? And I explained it to her, and we're still friends. But the reason I interviewed her, for those of you asking, is I'm a reporter. It's my job to ask questions. It's my job to try to figure out what people are thinking. Is she going to give me the honest truth? Probably not. No, she didn't. I believe she was honest in many of her questions. I believe she was not. I know she was not in many others. It's my job to ask questions. Now, it would be irresponsible of me if I had her on every single night. But to interview her once now, to get this, and then maybe go in depth down the road, perhaps. I don't know. We'll see. So that sets it up how it all came to be. Now I think we'll start. I'll go ahead and play this. Again, if you have
Okay.
questions, if you have comments, go ahead and send them in to me. This is my interview with Lori
we
Vallow
go.
Daybell. Again, unedited, without any sort of breaks or anything from the
So what he's saying is this is an unedited interview where there will be no interruptions on his part. We will be pausing it to say things. So for the uninterrupted interview, again, I'll put a link in the video's description for this original interview, and he's not going to interrupt it. It's going to be unedited, uninterrupted. There's no way that I personally can get through, I'm sure, much of this without pausing it to make a comment. You guys probably feel the same way. So just to put that out there.
the Australia jail in Maricopa County.
Oh boy.
Hi, Lori.
Oh my God, she's got her troll hairdo. Oh my God, look at her freaking dude. Look at this. She brought all her files with her. Like she thinks she's going to convince him of something. That's hilarious. Lori, you know what? I guarantee they're not going to do a damn thing with any of those files. How stupid.
How are you? You ready?
Yeah. Are any of my people here? Oh, okay.
I just wanted to point out, though, by carrying that whole huge ass accordion file in, and look, she's like arranging things. Look at this. It gives her something to focus on besides Nate sitting there. Watch this. Watch how she comes in the room and she has something to fiddle with. It's like an adapter, as they would say on the behavior channel or behavior panel. And then she fiddles putting the thing in the thing. And it's like she's making him wait on her. She's making him wait on her. And it's not until she's ready that the interview is going to start. Watch. So she's too busy with her file to even bother to look at him in the eye. Oh, now she's got to get that. She got to put that in there. Oh, she's struggling.
How are you? You ready?
She looks surprised. Look, she looks surprised. She's like, I didn't tell you I was done with my file yet, Nate. Dude.
Yeah. Are any of my people here? Oh, okay. Hi.
Wow.
Good to see you.
Nate, such a pleasure.
Have a seat. And
Long time coming, huh?
it has been. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
So I want to start with Chad.
Okay.
You told me years ago.
Today is my birthday.
This is so fucking weird. He says happy, dude. You guys.
Coming, huh?
It has been. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
So I want to start.
So it's like she's got a delayed reaction. It's like she didn't even realize, and now she's like, oh, wait, I can capitalize on this.
Chad.
Okay.
You told me years ago.
Today is my birthday.
Today is your birthday.
Wow.
How old do you think that I am?
52.
Oh, how did you know?
I do
What
my
a
research.
stupid.
You must know a lot.
Yes.
The girls are like, are you turning 25 in my pod? And I was like, no, I'm turning 25 plus 25 plus 2.
There you go. So
Do
you
the
told-
math.
You've got to be kidding me. Did you guys hear this? Oh my God.
Birthday.
How old do you think that I am?
52.
Oh, how did you know?
I do my research.
You must know a lot.
Yes.
The girls are like, are you turning 25 in my pod? And I was like,
The girls in her pod are asking her if she's turning 25. How many of you guys believe that?
no, I'm turning 25 plus 25 plus 2.
There you go. So
Do
you
the
told-
math.
You told me years ago Chad was the best man you've ever met.
Wow.
Chad is a very kind person. Yes.
Is that still true?
Yes.
So besides his spirituality, what else attracts you to Chad?
He's a wonderful person. Everyone who knows him knows that. You've never met him, right?
I haven't met him other than when we were in Hawaii.
I'm saying you never met him, talked to him, interacted with him, or
No,
Right?
no.
I am.
How often are you able to talk with him?
so we aren't really speaking.
By your
Well, this is great because we've all wanted to know the answer to this question.
own choice or just because it's not allowed from like prison to prison?
Yeah, like the way that the mail works here is very difficult.
I see.
So we're only allowed to get postcards. Like you can't send a letter to the jail itself, and so there's difficulties within that.
But you still love him,
Absolutely, yeah,
and you've said you'll be exonerated, and he will too.
Oh
absolutely.
boy.
Will that be before he's executed?
Yes, Nate,
Okay.
before he's executed.
Oh my.
You're well aware, you know.
Oh my God. First of all, I love that Nate just comes out and asks that question, but her response, dude.
There's difficulties within that.
But you still love him,
Absolutely. Yeah,
and you've said you'll be exonerated, and he will too.
absolutely. We will.
Will that be before he's executed?
Yes, Nate,
Okay.
before he's executed. You're well aware, you know, I know that you are LDS as well as I am, right? And you're well aware that the three Nephites in 3 Nephi 28
Oh, not
were
this.
given the death penalty 7 times.
Oh God.
They were arrested after Jesus personally translated them. Okay. They were arrested, convicted, and given the death penalty 7 times. And where are they today?
I don't know.
They're still wandering the earth.
Yeah.
They didn't get executed.
So
They
is,
didn't get the death penalty. And there's 220 people in this country who have
Oh.
been on death row and have been exonerated and gone home.
do you think it'll be soon then?
Wow.
I think it'll be in the Lord's time. I know that it will be in the Lord's time. And when you say the word soon, if you've ever watched The Chosen or dealt with Jesus
What?
at all, you know that soon is a relative term because
Yeah.
1,000 years are a day to him.
So does it bother you?
So as long as you and Chad can live for 1,000 years, you'll get to see the day that he's exonerated.
Though that in
Excellent.
Chad's trial he blamed it on you and Alex?
Oh boy.
So now that I know the judicial system
Uh-oh.
and now that I have been my own attorney,
So for anyone who didn't watch the Idaho trials, this is a big deal. So let me just summarize what this question gets to, and I'm going to back it up so we can hear the whole question. So in Lori's trial, Lori was tried first before Chad, and she refused to throw Chad under the bus. In fact, there was one really particular memorable moment where her court-appointed counsel just simply wanted to make a comment. I think it was in closing arguments, right? And just referred to Chad's books as stupid. He said something about Chad's stupid books. That's it. Didn't try to blame him. I mean, that's really going easy on Chad, right? In the grand scheme of things. And Lori got really mad, and it was this whole thing. So then in Chad's trial, which was a year later, he actually had a strategy where he was trying to blame her and Alex, right? So in other words, he threw her under the bus, and she did not throw him under the bus. So that's why this question is a really good question.
that soon is a relative term because 1,000 years are a day to him.
So does it bother you though that in Chad's trial he blamed it on you and Alex?
Oh man.
So now that I know the judicial system
Oh
and
my
now
God.
that I have been my own attorney and how things work, and you know, I've said this before in an interview, it's so different what goes on behind the scenes in a high profile case. Okay. There's strategies going on.
She's telling this like Nate doesn't know. Like treating like what? Oh dear.
There's defenses going on. There's all these
Really, I had no idea. I'm sure Nate had no idea. Please, thank you, Lori, for enlightening us.
things going on
Oh.
that you wish, like, why can't we just go in and tell our side of the story?
Is that a real question?
The attorneys are like, you can't do that. We have to come up with the defense and we have to do
No, you have to present evidence, Lori.
this and we have to do this. And like, why do we just go? Why isn't it you thought, like, if you've never been in the judicial system, which I hadn't before, you thought they get to tell their side of the story, what they think happened. You get to go in and tell
Why
your
would you think that? Have you never heard of evidence, Lori? Oh,
side of the story of what happened. And then the jury gets to decide. And that's not what happens. That's not what happens at all.
now having said that, right? The closest thing to telling your side of the story, quote unquote, is taking the stand, which she could have done and didn't do. Not saying she should have, but to the extent she's complaining about not telling her side of the story, quote unquote, she chose not to. And you know what? I bet Nate Eaton's going to roast her on this.
It's so sad and disappointing that that's
So you
the
think
way
Chad
that it
they had to
goes.
come up with a defense just to have one in court? You don't think he really believed or blamed all
Oh,
of this on you
Lord.
and Alex?
absolutely. And I know that for a fact because John Pryor came and told me that prior to trial.
He did. He said, this is going to be our defense.
He said, I'm going to blame you and Chad doesn't want me to. And he wants you to know that.
Oh my
And this
God.
is the kind of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that nobody sees, that nobody knows what's going on. There's so much stuff going on that you wouldn't even believe all the things that go on.
You
The
wouldn't believe
experts
it,
that are
guys.
being
Yeah.
paid, the things that are going on.
I mean, I agree with her. Yeah, we wouldn't believe it, first of all. But what is this about experts now?
sees that nobody knows what's going on. There's so much stuff going on that you wouldn't even believe all the things that go on. The experts that are being paid, the things
What? We wouldn't believe that experts are being paid?
that are going on. We got this expert, we paid him $1 million to say the opposite of whatever
No experts being paid $1 million. You guys.
your expert's going to say. Like, what do you mean they paid him? The state paid
Okay, hold on. Let's back this up because Nate Eaton's gonna eat her alive on this one, I think. Dude,
being paid, the things that are going on. We got this expert, we paid him $1 million to say the opposite of whatever your expert's going to say. Like, what do you mean they paid him? The state paid an expert $1 million retainer to say whatever the opposite of what our state, what
in
our witness
Arizona or Idaho?
in Idaho was,
Oh.
what our witness is going to say. And the attorneys told me this,
Wait
and I'm
for it.
like, are you kidding?
But
Like,
you didn't have any witnesses.
ruh-roh, she didn't have any witnesses, you guys.
we did. Yeah, in the buildup, we did.
But
Oh
then
my god. Oh my god. Yeah, Flash, I agree. He says, I doubt John Pryor would ever talk. No, I don't even think he could because they were co-defendants. And then they were severed and which means which means basically now the strategy is three. Like, I don't think he would even have been able to talk to her. So
We absolutely
you didn't
did.
call him.
Well, there's reasons for that, that there's strategies involved. There's things going on, and you have no control when you have attorneys.
And that's
They're
why
oh my god. Lori, they're trying to save you from yourself.
doing it how they want to
and that's
do
why
it.
you wanted to be your own attorney.
No.
There's several reasons. The number one reason was because they wanted me to sit here for 5 years while they got to know the case. And I wanted a
No,
speedy trial.
That's
Can we go back to Hawaii? When I first met you
Good
and
job, Nate.
Chad.
And we didn't meet. You just put a microphone in my face.
Okay, when I put
Now
my-
we've met.
we have met. You're right. Why did
it's almost like flirting with him, guys. This is watch. She's like, I'm gonna be mad at you, and then she's like, this is her thing, right? She's like, yeah, we didn't meet. You just put a microphone in my face. But then she's like, wait, hold on. This is like the manipulative bit, right? Because then it's like, now we've met, and she does the whole like fluttering of her eyes. And you know what's so funny? She's doing the same thing she did in the whatever the other interview was, Dateline or whatever, where she's seeking approval from people off camera, right? Like whoever it is, the producer, the prison guard. Like in the other one, it was the prison guard. It's like the same type of thing. Watch her. She's going to be looking over there to see if they're approving of her little flirty thing that she's doing, which is just disgusting.
Me to sit here for 5 years while they got to know the case. And I wanted a speedy trial.
Can we go back to Hawaii? When I first met you and Chad.
And we didn't meet. You just put a microphone in my face.
Okay, when I put
Now
Here she goes.
we've met.
we have met. You're right. Why?
And she did the same thing. That she's looking over there to the side for approval. Like, are they laughing? Are they throwing up? And she did that constantly in the other interview. It's really funny and she's doing the same thing.
Didn't you just tell me where the kids were?
Because I was not ready to talk about it at all at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I was just not ready. It was very traumatic, and I was not ready for any of that.
Are you ready to talk now?
I have talked about it already. Yeah. I feel like a lot of things have happened in these last 5.5 years to give me strength through that tragedy that happened with my children. And I've been a lot more open in being able to talk about it now, and through therapy also, like some post-traumatic stress therapy. Because
What type of therapy are you getting in
and I'm
jail?
living in here with some beautiful, intelligent, smart women. And had I never come,
This is great. This is great, you guys. I could see this one coming, right? Like how just beneficial and amazing jail/prison has been for her. I say jail/prison because if she's in Idaho, it's prison. Well, now it's prison either way. But when she was still waiting trial in Arizona, it was jail. But in Idaho, it's prison. But now it's prison everywhere. So
and I've been a lot more open in being able to talk about it now, and through therapy also, like some post-traumatic stress therapy.
she's gonna try to make it seem like jail/prison is amazing, and she's just learned so much, and it's just great, and it's like the best thing, and that like she's like trying to sell it or something.
It's traumatic. And I'm living in here with some beautiful, intelligent, smart women. And had I never come to Arizona,
You guys, his face says it all. Nate's face says it all right now.
and I know God put me here for a purpose, because I didn't think Arizona was going to come and get me. In fact, I think you and I had a talk about that because there was an article that came out in Idaho saying that Arizona was not going to come and extradite me until all my appeals were finished. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
And I
I
think,
remember that.
and then my
It's like
appeals,
the next day that you were gone.
yeah, the next day they came and got me. And so, and my appeals attorney was supposed to come. He had an appointment that day when they came to get me to drive down from Boise to Pocatello for us to have a meeting. And they didn't even tell him I was gone. Like I was just gone that day. They came the next day.
Well, that's really shitty for him.
So I didn't think they were coming.
You mentioned a tragedy, and you said
That's
that
a real
this has all
topic.
been a family tragedy.
Yes,
And it has been a huge tragedy. All of
absolutely.
this.
Absolutely.
4 juries have said you and Chad and Alex caused the tragedy.
Yeah. That's the judicial system.
Oh
how
my.
do you argue with that if all of this evidence came out that showed, that you, Chad,
The only evidence that ever came out is the evidence state wanted to put forth.
well,
They
you
put,
could-
they
you could've
manipulate the evidence to make it look however they want.
Then you
And
could've
guess who
presented
helps them?
evidence.
The media helps them because from day one, when someone called you, okay, day one, whether it was Detective Hope or Detective Hermosillo, I'm not sure, called you and said, hey, Nate Eaton, this is going to be the biggest story of your life. And they got that information from Heather Daybell. And Heather Daybell and Detective Hoper are connected, right? Because their kids got married and they called and she said, oh, I have a story for you. These people killed their spouses so they could get married, which was totally a rumor,
I don't think that's
totally
true, Lori.
untrue. And then
He's
you
trying to stop her.
ran with it and you got famous from it and everybody
No.
knows what happened from there, right? So that's the way it goes. So the media put out their narrative. They kept on with it. The
Well,
state
she's making a great point. So what? 3 trials? 3 trials she's been through. She never put on any evidence.
went along with it. The state leaked stuff to the media
Okay, well,
to say
what's
what
false?
they wanted.
What's false about
Oh
the
my gosh,
narrative?
everything.
Your children were found dead in
Oh my
Chad's
God.
backyard. That's not wrong.
That's
Tylee was chopped up and burned. That's
No.
not wrong.
no, that's all mixed up. That wasn't.
I
the-
saw photos of JJ wrapped in plastic and duct tape. That wasn't wrong.
Okay, I understand what you're saying of those facts. Those facts in and of themselves are wrapped around a whole lot of untruth.
Oh my God.
About how they ended up there.
Correct.
So if Tylee killed JJ and then felt bad and committed suicide,
Mhm.
how did she die first?
She didn't.
She didn't?
That's part of their whole fake narrative. That's
Who
part.
burned her and chopped her up?
That's part of everything that they were doing. So I don't
Who
really
was
want to
doing?
get into all of those details with you because you obviously are very set in your mind. I'm not here.
Okay. So here's what she's dangling the carrot. She's saying, I have an answer for you, but I'm not going to give it to you because I want you to do X, Y, and Z. What is she going to ask for? A whole house full of M&Ms? This is so fucking manipulative. Wow, man.
That's part of everything that they were
Right.
doing. So I don't really want to get into all of those details with you because you obviously are very set in your mind. I'm not here.
The other thing is like punishing him. It's like, I'm punishing you because you've already made up your mind. I'm punishing you by not giving you the answer you want. God, I hate her so much.
Change people's minds.
I want you
Other-
to change my mind. I'd love to hear any evidence or facts you have that might make me think, you know what? They have it wrong, but I haven't heard anything otherwise.
Yep.
That's because you've been pushing this narrative for 5.5
Stop it, Lori. Just stop it.
years. You're not telling me that your mind is not set on what it is already.
Minds can change.
They could change
Right.
if they're open to change.
Right.
Okay. So miracles are on the way.
Oh boy.
And you remember I asked you to watch a movie.
Yes. Evan Almighty.
I
Oh my
did.
God.
And did you watch that movie?
I did.
So my guess is now so he's saying minds are open to change. Very true. Yes. It's always important that we stay open-minded and that our minds are flexible. But my guess is now that he's saying that, my guess is that she's going to make him prove it, like in her mind, right? Like now it's like, okay, well, you've said that, but now, because like, again, she's never going to be able to actually answer the question. So now it's going to be like, here's what you have to do to prove it. And it's going to be things that are impossible. Let's just see if that is correct.
And did you identify yourself with the
Right.
reporter in that movie?
I don't know if I identified myself with. Did you identify him with me?
Yes, absolutely.
So what does that mean?
Okay. So when did the reporter change his mind?
Remind me.
When he was floating in the flood on the ark. Okay. Not until God showed the miracle
Oh God.
did his mind change. His mind was like,
Already talking about the different, what's the word that she's got? Like, you know, contingencies or whatever. Like, let's make a deal, like all that, right? Like, what is the word I'm looking for? Anyway, I can't even think of the word. Like negotiations, right? So already we know now, before this interview even started, there was a negotiation that he would watch this movie. She asked him to watch this movie, or Gus told him to, and he watched the movie, right? Like all of this, right? It's just, ugh. Can't stand
Flood
the
on the
guys,
ark.
but
Okay. Not until God showed the miracle was he did his mind change. His mind was like, this is a crazy guy. He thinks he's like Noah. Why are you so crazy? He's pushing the narrative, right? He pushed the narrative, pushed the narrative, pushed the narrative. And then the flood came. And he's the first one screaming. And he's screaming and he's running for the ark because he had been pushing this narrative the whole time, right? This
I would
fake,
not.
false narrative. That this
I
guy
wouldn't trust her on the bib or whatever. I guess it's LDS. But anyway, as far as Noah and the ark, I wouldn't say that she's the best resource. But I appreciate that you guys in the chat know what the actual Bible says.
It was crazy that God didn't talk to him, that all these things have happened, right? That these weren't God things that happened, okay? So then he's the first one to get on there screaming. And when he's floating down the river on the flood is when his mind was changed. So when you're open to changing your mind, I will be happy to enlighten you to the things of God.
There it is.
Well, I would love to hear
I'm
what
sure
you
you
have to
would.
say. I wish we had more than 30
I wish
minutes.
we had more time.
And like,
too.
luckily for her, right? No matter what, she can also say, "Yeah, no, your mind's not open," and then she can make him prove it, and he can prove it. He can do whatever it is. She says, "Prove it this way, X, Y, Z." He does X, Y, Z, jumps through those hoops. Then she can say, "Nope, your mind's still not open," right? She can always be in control and say, "Nope, not good enough," and just dangle that freaking carrot, man.
Could really get into it.
A couple of more questions for you, and then I know that you have some things you want to say. The night before Alex died, he told Zulema, "I think I'm their fall guy." Was he?
No, absolutely not. And I don't think he ever said that. I watched Zulema go through probably 13,
Okay, so now
14,
she's
15
changing
hours of detectives grilling her. I've watched the interviews. I've watched them all. And I watched her be berated by them, threatened by them, that they're going to arrest her, that she had a part in this, that she's a co-conspirator, and all this stuff until they got her to say exactly what they wanted her to say. And she made that up. She made up a lot of stuff. And I felt bad for her because I didn't want her arrested because she wasn't part of any conspiracy, because there wasn't any conspiracy.
Oh.
And I felt really bad for her. I do love Zulema.
Did you and Chad have anything to do with Alex's death?
No, absolutely not. We were very surprised. No.
What were you and Chad and Alex doing in the storage unit, moving the tire and the seat back and forth on the day that Brandon was shot at and the day after?
So that's so silly that is.
It's silly, guys.
There was stuff in my garage that I was starting to move into the storage unit. That's what we were doing. And so I moved that stuff in there.
The tire on the Jeep?
I moved stuff that had been in there. It was just sitting in there. It had been sitting in there. So I didn't have enough room to park. So I couldn't carry it. It was heavy. So I had Chad help me put it in. And the next day, Alex was like,
I'm sorry. I want to hear from all of her pod mates or whatever the fuck she called them. I'm still just like, the fact that she came in and started this entire thing saying that all of her like pod mates or whatever, which are the death row women, that they all were like, "Oh, how old are you? 25?" I want to hear from them one by one. Y'all, of all the ways to start this interview with something like that. Yeah, all the ladies were like, "Are you 25?" And she was like, "No, try 25 times 2 and then add 10 years or whatever the fuck it was." Dude.
"Where's all that stuff in the garage?" And I was like,
Like, how dare you make them seem even worse than they are for being on death row? Like,
put it in the storage unit. He was like, "Oh, I need that." So we went and got it. And that was it.
Can you see how, let's say you're not here. Let's say you're
Sure.
at home and you find out about this story and you do all your research. You go through all the court documents, you watch the trial, and you're watching another woman going through exactly what you're going through. Can you see how it sounds kind of crazy what you were saying? Like the fact that this was all a coincidence, or you were just moving stuff in and
Yeah,
out?
because the narrative has trained the people.
But if you
narrative
did
has
your
changed
own
it.
he's not
research,
answering the
The
question.
narrative has trained the people. I have people come up to me all the time in the jail. "I know everything about your case. I've watched everything." And they have every fact wrong.
but aren't you in
So-
isolation? Are you able to talk with other inmates?
Oh boy.
Yeah, you have no idea what it's like in there. Okay, I'm in max security. I'm in
Oh my God.
PC, which I didn't choose to be, but they put me in there for safety reasons.
Tell me what PC means.
So,
Yeah.
protection.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to
Protective
know.
custody.
Protective custody, yes.
Okay.
And so I'm in a max pod with all the other women that are max. So there's like 8 women in my pod that
Right.
are facing the death
And
penalty.
these are the women who allegedly think she's 25 years old.
Okay. We're all in rooms in there, and we are all in there 23 hours a day. And we get 1 hour out a day to take a shower and clean our rooms. And that's how it is in there. But all of our doors have openings so we can talk to each other even through the doors. And so, yeah, so I'm not isolated. But when I am transported to court, like for my 2 trials, right, I'm with the women all day long that don't normally see me. So I'm friends with everybody in my pod, but other women will shout out to
Right,
me
Mary.
that, oh, I know everything about you. I know everything about your story. And they've been so indoctrinated by the media and their narrative that they put out. And nobody was asking me what's happening. Nobody asked Chad
I tried
what was
to.
happening. Well, would you have listened then? You have to.
Absolutely. I wish
You
and
need to be on the boat, Nate. Are you on the boat
Uh,
yet? Because when you're on the boat, Nate, I am going to be happy to share all this stuff with you because miracles are on the way.
I wanted to
Miracles are on the way.
Oh
And
my
when
God.
you're on the boat, that's why I sent you that last
video.
message. Well, I sent you the last message saying, when you're on the boat, you'll be ready.
so
When you're on the boat.
You know what that's like? It's like when you drink the Kool-Aid and what have you. God. I
you
think
say
it's supposed to
Jesus
be
is
Noah's
your friend.
boat. I don't
Absolutely.
know.
Does he support
It's
cheating
tough.
on your spouse?
We weren't cheating.
Does he support killing your husband?
I didn't kill
Hang on. Hold on. Let me back this up. Oh boy.
You say Jesus is your friend.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Does he support cheating on your spouse?
We weren't cheating.
Does he support killing your husband?
I didn't kill anybody ever.
Killing your kids?
I didn't kill anybody.
Killing
as you
your
know.
boyfriend's wife?
Okay. Was I in Hawaii when Tammy died? How did I kill her? Are you going to explain that to the world now?
Using,
How did I do that?
Using your kids' money while they're dead?
Okay. All that is messed up too.
How
That's
did
all
you
lies.
how did you rent that unit in Hawaii? With
That's
what
all
money?
lies. Chad rented it. I did not
Chad
rent
didn't
it.
have any money until Tammy died.
Chad rented it with his own money.
Okay.
Chad was an author and a publisher and had his own company.
So
that's what I'm saying. You're
getting $30,000 a year. with
No,
that
but you're
company.
giving up facts that you don't. You're giving up whatever the state put up. They don't put up the whole story, Nate.
And that's
They just put up tiny pieces to put together their own narrative. That's
Oh my
it.
God.
You don't know anything about our lives or how they were or what we were doing in the temple.
Yours-
What we were doing in
You.
the temple every single day.
while you were in the temple while Tammy was still alive. You were in the temple with Chad.
Several times, yes.
Right. So he's married to Tammy.
Correct. Tammy came to the temple with us
Oh,
too.
The three of you.
At some points, yes.
How many times?
Probably twice.
When is this narrative going to come out? When are you saying the full story is going to come out? Like your side, what really
So
happened?
I'm writing it.
Oh no.
I'm writing
Oh
I'm
no.
writing it. And I'm going to write
Oh.
out every single thing.
Oh my God. She's writing a book. She's writing a book.
Every single thing
No
from
way.
beginning to end so that people can really understand because
Oh my God. She's writing a book.
you can't understand what happened with Tyler and
Guys.
JJ.
Is she writing a book? Is she going to try to put it as a religious like scripture, or is it going to be like a nonfiction? Like what?
Unless you understand
Oh
what
Lord.
happened
Oh Lord.
to Tylee in her life.
Oh
You
no.
have to know Tylee's whole story
Oh,
from
God.
beginning to end. And when you know what happened in Tylee's life, you start to understand. The understanding, the lights click on. But nobody has said that. This lady got up in Idaho. It was 1 year after I had been arrested, and it was going to be Tylee's birthday. And there was a lady in Idaho Falls, and they were having some kind of vigil. And it was on the news because I was in a pod by myself at Madison County, right? And I'm watching the news, and this lady comes on, and she says, oh, you know, it would have been Tylee's 18th birthday because she died 2 days before her 17th birthday. And then she said, it would have been Tylee's 18th birthday today. And if Tylee were here, she would be out with her friends and she would be singing and dancing and she would be doing all these things. And this is a lady who has never met Tylee, never knew her, never knew anything about her life or our life. And I was like, do you know how many of Tylee's birthdays we spent in the hospital with her screaming in pain while she's on morphine and the morphine isn't enough to take away the pain?
Wait. Are you really blaming this all on Tylee?
No, absolutely not. I'm saying Tylee had a really hard life and people don't
So
understand.
how does that tie into her death and your son's death and Charles being shot and Brandon being shot at and Tammy's death?
Okay,
Her
all
illness.
those things connected, right? It's a domino effect. So in 2017, I was told by the Lord that I was going to become like Job and lose everything. Will I do this job if I lose everything? And so this
Didn't she
domino
say this in
effect
her
of things
thing too?
happened. This is all the Lord's doing. And guess what? He's going to come forward and tell it all. And I don't have to.
Did,
But I am writing it all down for posterity. I am writing it all down because you know what he told me? You know what Jesus told me? He said, this is going to be real good scripture reading in the
Oh my
future.
God.
So if you go back and you read the scriptures and you find all,
Oh, here it is. This will be real good scripture reading. So does she actually think she's writing like a, what do you even call it? A religious text? What's the word I'm looking for? Does she actually think she's writing like another, I guess, religious text? Is that the right word? Like another Book of Mormon? Like, does that what she thinks? So that, like, the question I was just asking, like, is this going to be like an autobiography, or is it, what is this going to be? It sounds like she's actually intending this to be the first thing that I suggested, which is like a religious text. Oh
he's going to
dear.
come forward and tell it all. And I don't have to.
did,
But I am writing it all down for posterity. I am writing it all down because you know what he told me? You know what Jesus told me? He said, this is going to be real good scripture reading in the
Lord.
future. So if you go back and you read the scriptures and you find all these stories that were going, what do you think is going to happen? These are the last days, right? We believe that. You believe that, right?
when can I get a copy of this? Because I want to read it.
Right?
But you're going to, the whole world's going to get to read it. I'm working
Yeah.
on it. I work on it every day.
Didn't
Jeff's
you,
like, what are you doing in there all day? It's like, I'm writing. I'm writing. It's
that?
coming to me. I'm writing.
when you
Oh my
were
God.
on trial in Idaho, didn't you say that Jesus was going to be back before the end of that trial?
Okay. Who said I said that?
I'm asking
You.
you, did you say
No,
that? You never
absolutely
said
not.
that.
I have never, Chad has never, we've never given a date or a time. The prophet,
July 20, where'd July 20th
somebody
come from?
made that up and put it on there. I have never said it.
Boy.
Chad has never said it. We've never had a date. We're going with what the prophet says. When President Nelson gets up and says, these are the last days, we need to prepare for the second coming. We need to gather Israel on both sides of the veil. That's what we were doing. That's what we were working on. And we wait for his timing. The Lord has his own timing. He's never early. He's never late.
Why has
His
Chad been
timing is
excommunicated?
great.
Wait, are you saying that the Lord is Gandalf? Literally, she's just like, she's just like copying Tolkien?
To the veil. That's what we were doing. That's what we were working on. And we wait for his timing. The Lord has his own timing. He's never early. He's never late.
Why?
A wizard, oh my God, you guys. A wizard, what is it? A wizard is never early and he's never late. He always arrives precisely when he means to, something like that. Like, it's literally it's that quote. Like, you guys, hold on. Now I need to find it verbatim. A wizard is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to. So yeah, there you go.
Has
His
Chad been
timing is
excommunicated?
great. So I think that was false too. That was mean.
Mhm.
That was mean.
To excommunicate him?
Absolutely.
Are you still a member?
As far as I know.
Okay.
No,
So
she's
Lori,
not.
if you could go back 6 years
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
Oh.
June of 2019,
Okay.
would you change anything that's happened over the past 6 years?
Oh, that's a good question, Nate.
She's gonna say no.
I don't think I could
Yeah.
If you
because
could.
we were foreordained to do this
Oh my
mission.
God, what a
right?
cop out.
The Lord is using Chad and I right now, and this is what he's told us.
He said
as
if you could.
instruments in his hands.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
What do you think he's trying to teach the people, especially his people, his church? What do you think he's trying to teach his people right now while he separates the wheat from the tares? He has to have an earthquake. It has to be so detrimental. It has to be get everybody's attention. Our case has done that. And what is he doing with that divide? He calls it, you know what Jesus told me? He calls it the great divide. What do you think he's doing with it?
I don't know, but
Oh my
you've
God.
He's teaching people not to judge. Don't judge something.
No.
You weren't there. You don't know what happened. Don't judge. That's what he's doing. And he's separating the wheat from the tares right now in his own house. And he's using Chad and I to do it.
So
Okay.
what if you end up going to Pocatello in a few weeks
Yes.
and spending the next 30 or 40 birthdays
Right?
there behind bars?
Guys, the fist bump. She's like, yeah, I love prison. Oh my God.
Using
Well.
Chad and I to do it.
So what if you end up going to
She's like,
Pocatello?
prison is great. I'm writing a book. I have all my best friends. They all think I'm young as fuck. You know, Jesus is my bestie. Nate's going to be on a boat.
In a few weeks
Yes.
and spending the next 30 or 40
Wow.
birthdays
Right?
there behind bars?
That would be God's will, but I'll tell you right now, that's not going to happen.
It's not
It
gonna
is
happen.
not going to be 20 or 30 years. No, it is not going to be 20 or 30 years. I will testify to that.
Oh
right
boy.
now.
So
Well.
if it's not, how about we meet every year on your birthday and we do a follow-up interview and you can
Great
give me the
idea.
timeline?
Absolutely. I don't have a timeline other than what the prophet has said. Did you watch this last conference?
Yeah, but
Did
you
wa-
just said it wasn't going to be 20 or 30 years.
watch it?
Are you able to watch it in here?
No, but I was
Did
at
you
the
read it?
prison. At the prison, I was able to listen to it because on your tablet you have AM FM radio, so you can
Oh,
listen to the
okay.
whole thing. So I got to listen to it the last time before I came. But they did have one. They have one. I think it's a 2023 conference on our tablet here. So I've watched it over and over. But all the prophets, all the apostles, everyone in the LDS church is saying, prepare, gather Israel on both sides of the veil.
Yeah,
I
but
was going
that's
to the
what
temple. I went to the
that's
temple.
literally their thing, though. That's literally their thing, is they always say prepare. Like, that's what they've been doing for however long they've been around. Like, that's the whole thing, right?
every day for like 3 years.
Oh, dear.
I was doing all Charles' family's work. I was doing all my family's work. I was gathering Israel on both sides of the veil. And Jesus came there. That's his house. And he talked to me and he told me that he needed me to do a mission for him. And this is what we're doing. And the media has turned it all around, but it was supposed to be, there's always a Judas. And I almost used to think of you as the Judas.
Me? Was I on the dark list?
No, but this is what I'm saying.
Lies.
There's a Judas. People think that Judas is a villain. Judas is not a villain. You know what Judas was? Judas was a vessel. Judas was a vessel for God's plan to come to fruition. And he told me the other day, it's coming to full fruition.
God did.
Yes. So when we are, just like he told Noah, who was Steve Carell in the movie, right? So God came there and talked to Steve
What
Carell.
the hell
Is
is
that true?
happening?
In the movie.
Yeah.
And the media guy didn't believe him.
So
right?
true.
This guy's crazy, right? God didn't talk to him, didn't tell him to do it, didn't tell him to build a boat, buy all those lots, make his wife mad, spend all his money, build a boat, because that whole thing was going to get wiped out, right? So God has told me lots of things, and this is one of the things that he told me. He's using us as instruments
Lori,
in
he
his
said
hands to separate the
that he
wheat
watched
from the tares.
the movie.
Did you ever
And
think
people are choosing. Do you know how many people have left the church over our case? Which, what does our case have to do with the church? Nothing. Has nothing to do with the church. We're not against the church.
Did you ever think you'd have the title of convicted serial killer?
Oh, wow.
No, do I?
Well, for people.
What?
I mean, I guess you could technically say that, but
Yeah.
everyone in the world knows that I didn't hurt anyone. I've never hurt anyone in my whole entire life.
Well, years ago, everybody I've talked to, your friends.
Everyone in the world knows. I thought her whole thing was everybody in the world is wrong because they all think I'm guilty. You guys, I actually was not expecting that. I was not expecting that.
Well, for people.
I mean, I guess you could technically say that, but everyone in the world knows that I didn't hurt anyone. I've never.
I mean, this literally goes against her entire whole thing of like, I'm the victim because everybody is against me because they all think I'm this killer that I'm not. So that's interesting, even just from a logical standpoint. Although I don't know why, logic clearly is not part of this equation. Wow. I just did not expect her to say that.
Oh, do I?
Well, for people.
I mean, in other words, she can't be falsely persecuted or whatever the word, like in the religious sense, right? Like persecuted, like that's her whole thing, right? That's her whole spiel, that she's like being falsely persecuted. Like, isn't part of that everybody believes you did something you didn't do or whatever? So this just flies in the face of that whole thing.
I mean, I guess you could technically say that, but everyone in the world knows that I didn't hurt anyone. I've never
That
hurt
makes no
anyone
sense.
in my whole entire life.
Well, years ago,
Great
everybody I've talked to, your friends, family,
Great
say
point.
you were a great mom, so much fun, loved to dance, loved music, loved to travel. You were the light of the party. And here we are in a jail. How did you get from there to here?
God put me here
Oh my God.
for his purpose.
Oh my
And
God.
so you know who he needs? He needs somebody who's the life of the party, somebody who teaches the girls how to work out, somebody who teaches the girls.
I don't even have words, you guys. The life of the party in prison for the people who are on death row. This is just a lot even from her, you guys. Holy shit.
God put me here for his purpose. And so you know who he needs? He needs somebody who's the life of the party, somebody who teaches the girls how to work out, somebody who teaches the girls how to have fun and dance and do all those things in the worst jail in the country.
Wait. I thought her mission, though, this is what she'd said previously at some other point in time. I thought her mission, though, was to teach the women how to become their own attorneys. So now it's the life of the party girl, do their own whatever, do work out. I mean, you guys just
somebody to come in to the worst jail in the country and strengthen these women. And I'll tell you what happened. We used to have this wonderful lady, and she used to come in, and she's from mental health. She used to come in on Tuesdays, and she'd be down there, and she's blonde, and she's really cute, and she's really fun. She's bubbly like me. And she would come down there, and she'd try to get the girls to work out and give them coping mechanisms and talk to them about stuff like that. And
how much you want to bet she's going to say that lady couldn't get them to do their workout or get them to do their therapy, but she could. How much you want to bet?
The girls didn't like her.
There it is. Called it.
They thought she was annoying, and they were
Yup. Only she can do what the mental health expert couldn't do.
waking her up and stuff like that. Because you know why? She wasn't one of them. She wasn't one of them. But you know what I have? I have 7 lifetimes. I have worse.
So you're on your
punishments.
7th life now?
No. I'm saying I got 5.
She's saying 7 lives. Interesting. So Nate, understandably so, took this as her different prior probations. She's actually here. This is the most sensible thing she said the whole time, which is she's actually admitting and cognizant of how many life sentences she has. That's what I think she's getting at. Let's see.
She wasn't one of them. But you know what I have? I have 7 lifetimes. I have worse.
So you're on your
punishments.
7th life now?
No. I'm saying I got 5 life sentences
Yep.
in Idaho.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah.
I've got
And surprisingly, see, even he was surprisingly realistic of her, really.
another one here and another one here.
I was talking about
pending.
the multiple probations.
No, I'm talking about
your
I am-
sentences for.
I'm
for- right.
sentenced to 7 lifetimes right
Right.
now, basically.
Why didn't
right?
you tell all this to the police?
So
Why didn't you tell them all this when you were arrested? Explain this to them. You know, God's told me to do this. Give your defense.
really, what happens to people when they say God told them to do something? They lock them up.
Well,
I'm locked up.
well, whatever the reasoning, if you really did think Tylee was responsible for this, why don't you tell the police? She had chronic pancreatitis.
Pancreatitis.
JJ had autism.
I mean,
all of these things.
All of these things.
Why didn't you
She
tell
was
the-
sexually abused by her dad from the time she was 3 years old and forced by family court to go to him for 10 years.
boy.
You don't think that was hard on her?
I'm
She
sure-
was in the hospital
Right.
all the time. She
Why
had
not tell the
chronic
police
pain.
this? Why not tell the police all this?
At the very beginning, or what are you talking
Whenever.
about?
I don't think you've ever talked to a cop, have you?
You know when I called the cops?
Oh boy.
I called the cops 2 times in my life. Guess what happened to me? I called the cops when I was pregnant with Colby, and his dad had beat me up, and I had a black eye, and I was thrown down the
So
stairs.
she's
and I
just
was beat.
completely misdirecting this entire thing, right? He's asking her, why didn't she call the I mean, you guys heard this. This is crazy. This is crazy. Lori, and the thing is she knows what he's asking, and she knows that this is bullshit. Ugh.
I called the cops 2 times in my life. Guess what happened to me? I called the cops when I was pregnant with Colby, and his dad had beat me up,
He's
and I had a black
asking.
eye, and I was thrown down the stairs, and I was 8 months pregnant.
Non-responsive.
You know what they did? Nothing. They did not help me. And the second time I called the cops is when Colby was 10 years old. And we were at church, and we came in the car home, and he told me how Joe had molested him. And he didn't want the same thing to happen to Tylee. She was only 3 years old.
Well,
Okay.
Colby
I
will
called the
handle it,
cops.
I'm sure.
And guess what I did? I called him and I said, hey, this stuff happened. I don't know what to do. They said, we don't care. Call the county where it happened. So I called that county and I told them the whole story,
well,
like my
so
son
basically, it sounds like she called the wrong jurisdiction, which is a thing, right?
just
Anyways.
came to me. He's 10 years old.
Not like she still has, apparently she's not learned what jurisdiction is, despite representing herself in a murder trial, in an attempted murder trial, still doesn't understand jurisdiction clearly.
Old, this happened, blah, blah, blah. They said, we don't care. Call the county where the
Ah!
perpetrator is living. So I called that
Ah!
county and I said,
No.
this is what happened. And nobody would talk to us.
Call
And
jurisdiction.
then the county finally called me back where it had happened, where we had lived previously. And they said, okay, come in tomorrow, bring the kids in and we'll forensically interview them. Okay. So we did all that. I did everything that the cops asked me to do. And then when I was in there, they said, after they met with Colby, they interviewed him for 45 minutes. They interviewed Tylee. They came out. They said, Colby met all the criteria we use to prosecute, and we're going to prosecute him, and we're going to keep your kids safe. And then they did nothing. And Joe hired a criminal attorney and they did nothing. And he never got indicted. And nobody ever even looked him in the eye and said, did you rape your children? And for 10 years, the judge told me that if I didn't take Tylee to him every other weekend and 30 days in the summer and every Thursday night, that she would put me in jail. If I was late for one visitation of dropping her off at a dad who was raping her in the middle of the night, that I would be put in jail if I didn't abide by that.
Y'all think all this is in her scripture?
Did you have anything to do with Joe's death?
No.
Did
Joe-
Alex?
Way to go, Nate, for redirecting it back to the real points.
Her off at a dad who was raping her in the middle of the night, that I would be put in jail if I didn't abide by that.
Did you have anything to do with Joe's death?
No,
Well done.
Did
Joe.
Alex?
no. We didn't even know. We were living in Hawaii. We had come back. Tylee,
Aren't you always though in Hawaii when somehow people that you're related to die? Just saying.
was forced to go to him for 10
Rather
years by the courts.
convenient.
Hated it. Came home and cried.
Rather convenient, right? It's like, oh, I was separated by an ocean. Yeah, well, you know what? The jig is up, as they say.
Screamed, kicked, hit Colby, hit Cole, hit Zach, scratched him, yelled, threw things through the walls, was a nightmare, had night
Things through the walls? What is this? Like Harry Potter business? Like what's happening?
terrors, never slept at night. Tylee never went to sleep before 3 o'clock in the morning. She's 5 years old. She can't go to sleep. I have to stay in bed with her till 3 o'clock in the morning, rubbing her back because she can't sleep, because bad people wake you up in the middle of the night to do bad things to you, mommy. And so Tylee was
I will just go out on a limb and say, I have to wonder if whatever she's talking about wasn't something that was done to her. I'm just going to go out on a limb and leave that there. What do you guys think? Because there's a lot of emotion here. And there's a lot, we've seen a lot of projection from Lori, right? This seems like the most, in terms of the emotion, this seems like the most genuine, if not the only genuine thing from her emotion-wise. But, you know, it's one of those things, right? Where she's just maybe swapping out the people. I don't know. What do you guys
had night terrors, never slept at night. Tylee never went to sleep before 3 o'clock in the morning. She's 5 years old. She can't go to sleep. I have to stay in bed with her till 3 o'clock in the morning, rubbing her back because she can't sleep, because bad people wake you up in the middle of the night to do bad things to you, mommy. And so Tylee was a nightmare. Charles thought she was a brat. I didn't discipline her. Then I was in the hospital with her, watching her scream and writhe in pain while she's on morphine because it doesn't work.
I've interviewed several jurors. You may have seen the interviews.
I haven't seen any juror interviews, none.
And
I have no access. I'm in here 23 hours a day. I'm in max security. We don't have access to
Right.
anything.
well,
So I
they've
haven't
said
seen anything for a year and a half since I've been over here.
they've said they were disappointed that they wanted to hear from you, that you
Yeah.
didn't have a defense, especially in Idaho.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If I get up on the stand and Trina Kay's sitting there, or
Rob
what's her
Wood.
name? Lindsay Blake, Rob Wood,
Right.
right? And they're sitting there. Are they going to let me tell Tylee's story on the stand? You know they're not. They're going to object every 2 seconds.
If it's
They're
relevant to
never,
the case.
I'm writing it out. No, they won't, because they don't want me to tell that story, because it's opposite of their narrative. It crushes their narrative.
But
It
you-
crumbles
It
their
assumes facts, not evidence. And you know what? If you took the stand, you maybe could have gone into some of that, but you've chosen not to take the stand every time. So
But you,
It's never going to
but
be
you know,
what it
as
is.
a defense attorney,
Yeah.
you present your defense. So you
oh
would have
my
wit-
God, Nate. You guys see what he just did? He's now building up her ego. Dude, that was brilliant. He said, you know, as a defense attorney. Well done, Nate. Oh my God.
crushes their narrative.
But
It
you-
crumbles their narrative.
But you,
It's never going to
but
be
you know,
what it is.
as a defense attorney,
Well,
Yeah.
you present your defense. So you would have witnesses that would come in and would testify to the things you're saying and would give
I
evidence
love it,
to
Nate.
that.
You're just as naive as I was, and I love it, because guess
my
what? I found out as a defense attorney.
Very.
This is what happened with Judge Boreski.
oh my God.
This is what happened. They don't let you put on a defense. Do you know how many motions I had on, or not motions? Do you know how many exhibits I had on to get ready for us to present our case for the first trial?
How many?
We had 33 exhibits.
And you chose not to put up, dude.
Put them up there. Trina Kay went up there. She gets to look at all your exhibits, right? This is how it works in law.
Yes.
She gets to look and see what all our things are, what we're putting up.
Of course.
Guess what I had? I had about 5 interviews with one of the cops who said, I have to get Lori on something. I have to find something to charge her with. I have him saying this on video.
Which cops?
Okay. Detective Moffat. Guess what happens? So I have 4 of those are my exhibits. I'm waiting for Detective Moffat to get on the stand. The state says
I
they're going to
remember
put
that.
on Detective Moffat. Guess who they don't put on at all?
I remember.
Detective
Now,
Moffat.
here's what I will say. I do remember this from her first Arizona trial. We haven't watched all of her second trial in Arizona yet, but I do remember that because we were all expecting Detective Moffat and then they didn't call him. But I think he was the one who was like really ill, if I recall. It'll be interesting to see what Nate follows that up with, because I know that was a surprise, but I remember thinking he might have been, I know somebody was like super ill, and I wonder if that's what that was.
They go around
And I'm not talking about Lori, I'm talking about prior to her quote unquote illness.
you, and then the judge didn't let me put in one exhibit, not one.
What if you
He
had
didn't
waived,
let me put
that's
one
not-
exhibit on.
Okay.
what if
not
you had
one.
waived your right to a trial, though, and given your legal team another year or so to go through all of that? Don't you think that would have helped your case?
No, not at all. Because guess what my team said? They said he wouldn't have let us put it on either.
Oh my
There's so many jobs, so much political aspiration going on behind the scenes in a high profile case. There is no way in heaven that they were going to let me get up there and win as a pro per client. Because you know what? It's like a virus in here. Do you know these girls that are treated so bad by their defense teams that are making $1.5 million a year while they sit here for 8 years, 10 years waiting to go to trial? There's girls in here that have been in here for 10 years.
I thought this was like the funnest place on earth, Lori, where everybody does workouts and is like, woo, party time.
You know what happens when you have a toothache in this jail? They pull out your teeth. So tell me how it's not prejudicial for you to go into trial with 5 of your teeth missing and you look like a homeless person and the jury's there judging you, right? And because you've been sitting in a jail that doesn't have any dental for you for 8 years waiting to go to trial.
You mentioned a virus. Were you really?
Oh. Wait, what happened? Hold on, let me back that up. Did they have to redact something? Hold
Judging
on.
you, right? And because you've been sitting in a jail that doesn't have any dental for you for 8 years waiting to go to trial.
You mentioned a virus. Were you really?
So this seems like that's a glitch maybe on East Idaho. We'll see what happens if Nate addresses it. That's not on our end. That's because I backed it up and did the same thing. That's aha.
Hold up.
There
Sorry
it is.
about that. I don't know what happened.
That's okay, Nate.
Computer froze up. Let me see if we got it. Here we go. Let me rewind it.
Oh,
Sorry about
boy.
that, everybody.
We forgive
Here
you.
we go.
There's no way in heaven that they were going to let me get up there and win as a pro per client. Because you know what? It's like a virus in here. Do you know these girls that are treated so bad by the year while they sit here for 8 years, 10 years waiting to go to trial? There's girls in here that have been in here for 10 years. Do you know what happens when you have a toothache in this jail? They pull out your teeth. So tell me how it's not prejudicial for you to go into trial with 5 of your teeth missing and you look like a homeless person and the jury's there judging you, right? And because you've been sitting in a jail that doesn't have any dental for you for 8 years waiting to go to trial.
You mentioned a virus. Were you really?
Interesting. It's having the same problem again.
Okay. Hold up. Sorry, there must have been a glitch. My computer's yelling at me.
Oh my
I'm
God.
gonna finish this.
Weird that I
Sorry,
see
I
same
promise
spot.
this wasn't planned. Somebody has hexed my computer.
Was it
I wonder
Lori?
who. Here we go, everybody. I believe this is where we were at.
Go around you, and then the judge didn't let me put in one exhibit, not one.
What if you had
He didn't
waived?
let me put one exhibit on.
What if you
not
had
one.
waived your right?
Y'all, by the way, that's Nate echoing, not us. I'm sure he'll figure it out though. You can
Apologies,
see
she called you through.
I didn't talk
Detective
to
Oh,
for Detective Moffat to get on the stand. The state says they're going to put on Detective Moffat. Guess who they don't put on at all?
Moffat.
Detective Moffat. They go around you, and then the judge didn't let me put in one exhibit, not one.
What if you
He
had
didn't
waived?
let me put one exhibit on.
What if
not
you had
one.
waived your right to a trial, though, and given your legal team another year or so to go through all of that?
Okay, everybody, hold up. For some reason, this program, I apologize. How unprofessional of me. Let me get in the.
okay. I'm going to just jump ahead a little bit while he works through his technical difficulties. We support you, Nate. Godspeed or Wizard Speed or what else has she talked about? The boat. The boat came up a lot.
Any remorse? Any apology? Anything?
Bad about anything that's a really broad
It
question.
is a broad question. About the past 6 years. Any? Do you feel bad about?
Do I
those?
have bad feelings about anyone?
Not
Or-
bad feelings. Do you personally feel bad or feel some remorse for the victims in these cases?
None of the people are victims.
Oh.
So
Are you the victim? Is that what you're
No,
saying?
I'm not saying I'm a victim at all. I'm
Ugh.
not saying that at all. I'm an instrument in God's hands.
You guys, I know this is tough. We have to make it to the end so we can find out what happens with the goddamn M&Ms. Does she throw them in his face? Does she leave them behind and say, I don't even want your M&Ms? What's going to happen?
The victims that you call victims
Boy, you mean the
are not
people
victims.
who are-
Tammy died of natural causes.
Oh my God.
The
Oh my
Tylee-
God.
coroner disagrees with
Tylee-
that. The coroner
Which
said
coroner are you talking about? The one the
Brenda
state put
died.
on?
Brenda died, the county
Okay.
coroner,
Okay.
who said she was asphyxiated. So aren't her kids victims?
Okay. No. Do her kids feel like they're victims? No, they don't. They understand the truth. But let me
What
tell you
about her
something.
siblings?
Let me tell you something about Brenda Dye for a second. Let's go back to that because you said the coroner, and that is not even a true
She
statement.
originally ordered it as natural causes. You're right.
Oh, thank you, Nate. A
But-
fact,
but
a
then
true
they
fact.
Then they
Okay.
exhumed her body the day before Alex died, which
Okay.
looks suspicious with Alex's death. They exhumed her body and they said no, she had the marks.
Did you hear what you just said?
What?
Looks suspicious. Who exhumed her? Why did they exhume her when she had a natural death?
So you're saying
Why did they exhume her when she had a natural death? What was the explanation for exhuming her when she had a natural death from the coroner? The coroner said it. Why?
because you and Chad were under investigation and they thought that you all might have killed her.
They thought you were a murderer.
Why? Because of Heather Daybell and what she said at the very beginning and called you up to say?
Fuck.
That's
Heather-
exactly where you're getting
Heather
it.
Daybell
That's
did
where
not
you're
call me.
getting
Heather
it.
Daybell
I didn't
did
say she
not-
called you. She called you through
I
Detective
didn't talk to
Hope.
Detective Hope at all.
You talked to Hermosillo.
I don't remember talking to Hermosillo. The tip I got when you were in Hawaii was from none of those people.
That's
Oh.
before we went to Hawaii. It's before you went to Hawaii. How'd you get a tip
We-
before you showed up in
we-
Hawaii?
we-
You obviously had a tip before you
We
showed
found
up
out
in
about
Hawaii.
this case
Yeah.
when the police sent out a news release. And then somebody
go.
random, I still to this day don't know, and I swear to you, to this day, we got a Facebook message from
Mm-hmm.
an anonymous account with a GPS location of where you and Chad were.
Oh, fuck.
I
Someone
swear to
did
you.
that. No, you were in an interview with someone. I did see a tiny little piece of an
Oh, wow.
interview. I think you had Hermosillo and someone in an interview, and they were saying, didn't someone call you up and say, this is going to be the biggest story of your life, Nate Eaton?
Oh, a police detective did tell me that. All right. But it's not.
Who
any-
was it?
It's not the people that you named. It's a source. So
You're not
that-
going to tell me your source, but you know everything about me,
back
but
to
you're
the
not going to
question.
tell me your source.
There's a lot I don't know about you, Lori. Back to the question.
Wow.
You don't feel bad. You're saying none of these people are victims.
I feel
Kay and
bad,
Larry
of
aren't
course.
victims. Brandon's not a victim.
No. I'm not saying that people haven't had hard things happen to them in their life. Everyone has hard things happen to them in their life, right? The judicial
Really?
system plays up the victim thing pretty big,
Oh my
right?
God.
We've
Oh my
seen it.
God.
The people who lost their children, I lost my children. I lost them.
And she's saying that the judicial system plays up the victim thing. You guys, I knew this was coming. I literally was like, oh my God, she's about to go and outdo anything in the judicial system. And there she goes.
The people who lost their children, I lost my children.
Mother of God.
I lost them.
But people, because
The mother of Satan. Well, she is Satan. So,
of
anyways.
what you did.
What did I do to them?
You arranged with
Mm.
Alex to conspire to kill them.
No, I did not.
And
Absolutely
Chad.
not. Absolutely
Did you
not.
know that they were in Chad's
Absolutely
backyard? Or
not.
did I?
No, I did not know that. I did not know where they were. Alex told me that he was put them in a safe place. That's what he
So
told me.
did you find out at the court at the first trial? Is that the first time you'd seen those autopsy photos?
Yeah, I hadn't ever seen him. I never looked at him before that.
Okay.
Because
No,
That's-
that's bullshit.
it's not how I picture my children. I know where they are in heaven. I know what they're doing. when
No,
they
it's her discovery. She would have looked at
come
it.
to visit me. So I don't see them as bones. If anybody dies and you go to a cemetery
God.
and you dig them up 9 months later, you're not going to like what you find. It's not going to be
They're-
pretty.
Oh my God. You guys.
They look
See?
like that, Lori. They're not going to.
I'm saying anybody
Yeah.
isn't going to look like that. I'm saying once your spirit
Wow.
leaves your body and goes,
This is all the different ways that she tries to explain this to herself and make it not so bad or something.
to heaven, okay? Because I died, right? When I was giving birth to Tylee,
Oh
I
my-
died.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
My spirit left my body. And guess what happened? When you're out of your body and you're your real self and your eternal self and who you are, you could care less what happens to your body. I've had that experience. Chad's had that experience. There's others that have had that experience. So the body dies. Everyone's dying, right? We're all going to die. Our
Yeah.
bodies are all going to go back to the earth where they were from. And we carry on. We move on. So my children are in their eternity. They're doing well. They're happy. They're moving on. They don't want me to be sad. They came to me because
Mary,
they
I knew you were going to say that. As soon as you said this, here's the thing. This is how, speaking of this, right? the way that I stumbled upon Twin Flames was during her trial, her first Arizona trial. That's how I literally, because being that, like, when we were covering her first Arizona trial, we were going back and watching a lot of these interviews with the different I guess to call it a cult is really giving them more credit than they deserve, because it was only like 6 people. But anyway, we were doing a lot of deep diving into this whole, quote unquote culty situation, right? People that are the beyond just what Chad and Lori were doing, but like the preppers and all that, right? And it was because of that the YouTube algorithm recommended this documentary about the Twin Flames. And at that time, it was fairly new, and I'd never heard of them. And I never click on stuff. It's so funny, right? I only ever do trial or related stuff, right? Like, it was so out of character for me to click on something that was like a documentary. But for whatever reason, I was like, this looks legit. This looks like it's not going to be bullshitty, right? This looks, I don't know. It's so funny, right? I didn't know anything about it, and I just clicked on it. And anyway, that's how I discovered the Twin Flames, and that's how that whole thing started. Isn't that so funny? So we do have Lori to thank for that, because literally that's how that ended up on my recommended videos or whatever on YouTube.
So my children are in their eternity. They're doing well. They're happy. They're moving on. They don't want me to be sad. They came to me because they don't want me to be sad. They said, Mom, you didn't do anything wrong.
I've got one last question for you.
Sure.
There's a lot of people that say I shouldn't have interviewed you. Well, they don't know I've interviewed you, but they say that you don't deserve a platform because of what you've done, what you've been found guilty of. Do they have a point?
In this unfair judicial system, anybody could be found guilty of anything. And I would tell to the people, I would say, be careful who you're judging, because anybody could end up in orange. You could be living your little life in the suburban bubble like I was, and anybody could end up in orange. Anybody, because they can turn this on anybody. There's women in here, beautiful, smart, intelligent women that have had their children die, and their family tragedies, and they're not crimes. And the state has turned them into crimes, and they're not crimes. And what I got accused of and convicted of, just like the 3 Nephites, what crime did they commit that they got 7 death penalties for? What crime did they commit that they got 7 death penalties for? I'm in good company. I'm in good company, and in heaven I will be in their company. And I didn't do anything that deserves this kind of punishment. But God did want me here. He did want me in here with these women. And he wanted me to lift and strengthen women and uplift them in these family tragedies. There's women in here that have suffered the same things I have. They've been here for years, waiting to go to trial. They haven't even gone to trial yet. But it's an unfair system, and they probably will get convicted. And then we'll see each other at the prison, and we'll uplift each other there until Jesus comes. And when he comes, he's going to set everybody in the prisons free. And all those who are unjustly and wrongfully convicted, like me and like these others.
She didn't mention Chad, which is interesting, right? Like, literally, I just dawned on me. She hasn't said anything about Chad except for the very beginning of the interview when she was asked directly about Chad.
Comes, and when he comes, he's going to set everybody in the prisons free. And all those who are unjustly and wrongfully convicted, like me and like these others, we will be walking from
no mention of Chad. Interesting.
Earth, and we
Did
will
she
be
forget about Chad?
With Jesus, and that's what we're going to do.
Okay, I have 15 cards, but I'm getting the wrap. So thank you, Lori, for chatting with me. And
what's going to happen with the M&Ms?
Can chat again.
Maybe we can do it again sometime.
Okay.
Oh my God! Look at her teasing him like that.
Thank you. Happy birthday. See ya.
M&Ms.
M&Ms. Can I have M&Ms?
She's like, M&Ms. Holy shit! That's her little reward.
See ya.
M&Ms. Can I have M&Ms? No? Are you guys gonna mute me? Yeah.
For real? They're not gonna let her have her M&Ms? Oh my God. Nate!
And there she goes. She did not get the M&Ms. Many of you were saying you were.
Mary called it. Mary was like, they're not gonna let her have the M&Ms. I figured that he would have cleared that with them if he was gonna bring them, right? I figured that if he was gonna bring the M&Ms, they would have had to have been cleared. But also, do they not have those in commissary? You know? Oh my God.
Audio issues. If you were, go ahead and refresh your screen. Go ahead and refresh your computer. There is one part that I'm going to try to get for you right now that shoot, I don't have it here.
Yeah.
You know what?
Maybe you know what? You're such a good point, Mary. Maybe initially the jailer was like maybe open to it, but then after watching that entire interview, he was like, "Nah, bitch, you're not getting your M&Ms."
Play it tomorrow. It's about Lori being sick.
Right, that's the part where it kept glitching. I think what did he say? He's going to play it tomorrow. Let's see.
Play it tomorrow. It's
Yeah.
about
Okay. So that part where it kept freezing and glitching on the live stream on poor Nate. I hate that for him. So
Lori
he's going to
being
play it tomorrow.
That's where my audio glitched. For some reason, that clip had an issue. I apologize to you. I will have it for you tomorrow. I asked her if she was really sick in court.
Yeah.
And she responded.
I want to know.
There is another clip. I have to tell you that I was not included, but I think after watching tonight, I think I'm going to show it to you tomorrow, because what happened was about 20 minutes into the conversation, one of Lori's legal team arrived. And so we paused the interview while she came in to get situated, but our cameras kept recording. And the interaction with me and Lori in that 90-second window was pretty interesting.
Oh, wow.
Pretty interesting.
So what he's basically saying that there's more to look forward to tomorrow.
I debated because it wasn't technically part of the interview showing you, but I will show you tomorrow. Half of you are angry with me. I know. I'm getting your emails. You're furious that I talked to her. I get it.
I honestly don't understand how people are mad, but that's just me.
You don't have to watch, and I understand. I respect that. Half of you have lots of questions because
I mean, this dude was the first person fucking on this case, and it got it the attention, right? And like literally got, because at the time, remember, they were still looking for the kids. When he followed them to Hawaii, they didn't know the kids were dead. They didn't find those bodies until way after the fact. And at the time, it was like trying to find the kids. And like literally, dude, it's like if any person on this planet deserves to talk to Lori and ask her the questions he's never gotten the chance to ask her, it's this dude. Especially after all the shenanigans she tried to pull it with in Arizona with like, you know, having him on the witness list so that he couldn't attend trial and all that, right? So what time is that tomorrow? I don't know. You'll have to check East Idaho News, and they're in a different time zone than I am, and a different time zone than you are, Mary. So yeah, check East Idaho News, and for Courtroom Insider, probably it'll be, I mean, what time did they go live tonight? They went live at 9 o'clock my time. So what is that? 7 o'clock his time, maybe, and 6 o'clock your. I shouldn't be trying to figure it out for all the different time zones. But anyway, you know, go check it out on the channel. And what I will do, see, now he's going to go through and fact check a lot of the stuff that she said. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. I'm going to put the, like I said, the video in the description, the link to the video in the description. So if you guys want to hear the rest of him fact checking Lori, because of course there's going to be a lot of it, and I think he's going to go over some other stuff as well, then you can go and click the link. But that's where we will give Nate the credit. Well done here. And that's talking about coming up this week, as you can see on Courtroom Insider. So anywho, so shout out to Nate Eaton. I mean, yeah, years in the making for him to be able to sit down and talk to her. And I like the idea of him talking to her every on her birthday. What else will she have to say? Who knows? And in the end, she forgot about Chad when she was talking about all the people who will go free and be exonerated, right? So interesting. There's a lot there. There's a lot. So this shit happened in 2019 is when all the murders happened. Yes, 2019 is when all the murders happened. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it is. That's a great point, right? That people interview all the different serial killers and they're mad. Right. And the thing is that usually when you've got people that are interviewing serial killers, they have actually no actual personal or historical like story with them, right? Like it's very unusual. Like the whole history of between Nate and like Lori is much more, what's the right word? It's a much more, they're not just, it's not just like somebody showing up to interview them, right? Because as we know, he's been in Lori's mind, you know, enemy number one since he showed up there in Hawaii and said, "Where are the kids?" But also, of course, classic Lori calls him her friend. So, you know, it's very different. And he, you know, he befriends her in a way, right? So that, you know, as he explained at the beginning of this interview, so that he can talk to her, right? I mean, I appreciate it. It's a great, I think it's a good philosophy to take, right? It's sort of like, what's the old saying about flies and honey? I don't know, dumb saying, but whatever. You guys get the point, right? You know, coming across as aggressive and cutthroat or whatever, you're not going to get her to talk. And I appreciate it. I just always appreciate him. I think he's great. You guys know I love Nate. I just think he's great. I love his attitude. I love how I just love him. I just think he's amazing. So, congrats to him for this interview. And yeah, aren't they cousins? Who? Well, Karen Reed's not talking to anybody, and apparently it's because she's got like a movie deal or a book deal in the making, and so there's somebody that's going to have like exclusive rights to her story. Because if she was going to go and interview with anybody, it would be Turtle Boy. My guess. I don't know. I just would guess that, right? That would make sense, and she hasn't done that. So I think that she's made that decision. I don't know. Just speculating, right? But you know, I'd love to have Alessi and Yannetti on. That'll never happen, but it would be great. You know, totally. But anyway, that'll be it for this one, guys. Tomorrow, what are we doing tomorrow? Well, we'll see what else happens with Brian Koberger, because we might have some more news that direction. If not, we might, I don't know. I've got a ton of stuff scheduled. I just have to make it public because it's all like, you know, ready to go, but I just have to like, you know, make it so that it pops up on YouTube. So anyway, we'll see. I think I've got slated. What have I got? I've got another Twin Flames. I've got more Adelsons. I've got, I forget what else. There's a number of things. So we'll just sort of see. But I have a feeling there will be some more developments for Idaho, more than likely. Maybe we'll get some actual, like, you know, documentation on the record. That would be great. So anywho, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Love y'all. For anyone who missed it, prior to this, we did a quick little, it was a short stream, but it was just sort of some thoughts on what's going on with Idaho 4, Brian Koberger, and talk of a plea deal, potentially, word on the street. And so if you missed that, feel free to check that out. And yeah, but we will be back later on tomorrow. And but in the meantime, love you guys. Thanks for being an awesome squirrel. But for now, squirrel out.